Imagine two cars crashing into a solid brick wall. One is traveling at 50 kilometers per hour, and the other is going 100 kilometers per hour. Now, instinctively, you might think the faster car would cause double the damage, right? Well, physics tells us a much more dangerous story. The car going 100 kilometers per hour actually has 4 times the destructive energy of the slower car. We call this the 4x danger paradox.
It's a pretty terrifying real-life problem when you think about it. Doubling your speed doesn't just double your energy, it literally quadruples it. But why? Well, to understand this paradox, we really have to uncover the fundamental relationship between force, movement, and the invisible currency of the universe, energy.
By the end of this lecture, you're going to completely master the concept of work as an energy transfer, the exact formula behind the work-energy theorem, and how to confidently apply these physics rules to solve real-world examples.
Okay, let's dive right in. Section 1. How work transfers energy, specifically moving and storing it. Think about pushing a heavy lawnmower across the grass, and compare that to, say, building the ancient Egyptian pyramids. If you push a lawnmower just hard enough to keep it moving at a constant speed, the energy you're putting into it is continuously being removed by friction. It just leaves the system as heat. But when the ancient Egyptians did massive amounts of work to lift those giant stone blocks, that energy didn't just vanish into thin air. It was actually stored in the stone-earth system, holding the potential to do work later. So work can either drain energy away or store it up.
Now you might be wondering, if I'm pushing a box across the floor, but friction is actively pushing back against me, where exactly does my energy go? That's a really great question. Friction is doing what we call negative work. It's actively removing the kinetic energy you're trying to add to the box and converting it into thermal energy, or heat. That is exactly why your hands get warm when you rub them together.
Now that we understand the basic idea of how energy moves around, let's move to the formula that ties it all together. Section 2, the work-energy theorem.
Let's build this step by step so you can see exactly where the math comes from. Step 1, we know that net work equals net force multiplied by distance. Step 2, from Newton's second law, force equals mass times acceleration. If we substitute that in, we get work equals mass times acceleration times distance. And finally, step 3, if we use our basic kinematics equations to replace acceleration and distance, the formula beautifully transforms. It reveals that net work equals 1/2 mass times final velocity squared minus 1/2 mass times initial velocity squared.
Actually pause for a second. This is absolutely crucial. Before we start calculating anything, I need to point out a mistake students make all the time. You have to look at the forces acting perpendicular to your movement. If you're pushing a box horizontally along the floor, gravity is pulling straight down and the floor's normal force is pushing straight up. Because they are perpendicular to your horizontal displacement, they do zero work on the box. They completely cancel out. Only forces along the line of movement do the work.
Let's make this a bit easier with a concrete example. Moving on to Section 3, kinetic energy. That quantity we just found in our derivation, the 1/2 mass times velocity squared, that's defined as translational kinetic energy. It's simply the energy associated with an object moving in a straight line. And right here is the answer to our 4x danger paradox from the very beginning. Look closely at the formula. Notice how velocity is squared? That means if you double the velocity, say from 50 kilometers per hour to 100, that factor of 2 gets squared, resulting in 4 times the kinetic energy.
Let's connect this to a real-world scenario so it clicks. Imagine a package sitting on a roller conveyor belt in a giant warehouse. It has a mass of 30.0 kilograms, and it's cruising along at a modest speed of 0.500 meters per second. Let's calculate its kinetic energy using our new formula.
Okay, so we plug in 0.5 times the 30 kilogram mass times 0.5 meters per second squared. The answer? Just 3.75 joules. Now what's really interesting about this surprisingly small number is that a 30 kilogram package is actually pretty heavy, but because it's moving so slowly, its kinetic energy is tiny. This completely explains why warehouse workers can manually sort moving packages all day without instantly exhausting themselves.
Let's level up a bit with Section 4, stopping distance and the role of friction. What happens when we introduce opposing forces into the mix?
Suppose you step in and give that same 30 kilogram package a shove. You apply a constant force of 120 newtons over a distance of 0.800 meters. But remember, friction is pushing back with 5.00 newtons. Your forward push does 96.0 joules of positive work. Friction does negative 4.00 joules of work. To find the network, we just add them together. 96 minus 4 gives us a network of exactly 92.0 joules.
So the crucial point here is this. The total kinetic energy of an object is simply its initial energy plus whatever network was just added to the system. Since the package started with 3.75 joules of energy and our net push added 92.0 joules, the package now has a total of 95.75 joules of kinetic energy. The work you just did literally transformed into the package's energy.
Now, let's test your understanding with a quick question. You stop pushing. How far does the package coast down the belt before coming to a complete stop, assuming that 5 Newton friction force remains constant the whole time?
Here's how we break the math down. Step 1, we know the starting total kinetic energy is 95.75 joules. Step 2, to stop the package, friction has to do exactly negative 95.75 joules of work to drain all that energy away. Step 3, since work equals force times distance, distance has to equal work divided by force. So we divide negative 95.75 joules by the negative 5.00 newtons of friction. Step 4, the negatives cancel out, leaving us with a stopping distance of exactly 19.2 meters. The math perfectly predicts reality.
Before we finish up, let's quickly summarize the key points we've learned today. First, network is how we transfer energy into or out of a system. Second, translational kinetic energy is calculated as 1/2 mass times velocity squared. And finally, the work-energy theorem beautifully proves that the net work done on a system is exactly equal to its change in kinetic energy.
But I want to leave you with a thought. Remember those Egyptian pyramids we talked about earlier? If lifting those incredibly heavy stones didn't result in fast kinetic movement, but instead stored energy in the stone-earth system to be used later, how exactly do we calculate that invisible, hidden potential? Well, we're going to uncover the secrets of gravitational potential energy next time.